Hello.
Hi, Nikki. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. How are you?
Fine, fine. You
Yes, I'm
ready?
very excited to meet with you and learn a little bit about what's going on.
Great. So why don't we just go ahead and start, huh?
Sounds great. You want to give me a little introduction on your role in all this?
Uh, well, my neighbor, who was 90 years old, is the one who discovered that the canal was discharging into our stream. And he started the ball rolling, and I kind of took over from there, organizing some of the neighbors and walking down the stream, finding out what was happening in the different properties. And we engaged uh, Dr. Paul Richards at SUNY Brockport, who teaches hydrology. And he's been using our watershed as an real life uh, classroom for his students. All right,
Okay.
so let me share my screen here. Okay, so first I'll show you the map and the waste weirs and the sluice gates. Then we'll talk about the bottom drains, the damage that's happening in the stream, and why we're here today talking with you and why this matters.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure you're familiar with this corner of the district. Here's
Mhm.
Fairport, right? Here's Pittsford. The canal is this line here. The purple line is the Great Embankment. So it runs from the Great Embankment Park up through to Route 31F.
Okay.
Here's Arundecoy Creek. This stream here, this blue line, is Cross Canal Brook.
Okay.
These points here are where the water flow has been measured by Dr. Richards. The red outline is our natural watershed for this stream. And we have three structures protecting the Great Embankment along the canal here. This is the Fairport Spillway.
Okay.
This is the Bushnell's Basin sluice gates. And this is the Cartersville Weir, which is actually in Pittsford. Okay, any questions about that?
No,
No?
thank you. This is very helpful to visualize.
All right, and one other point. These green, brown, and red points here are seeps through the embankment identified in an engineering inspection in 2017. This red one here is well known. It actually has a number that they're tracking. This area here was where they did an emergency repair in 2018 with steel pylons driven in 40 feet. Okay, so let's talk about these structures. This is a photograph from 1913 showing construction of the Fairport spillway and sluice gates. And the point of this is just to show you that it was quite a large construction project. This wouldn't have been undertaken at the time if it wasn't necessary. This is what a sluice gate looks like. So you have a frame with a gate that slides up from the bottom, and it's drawn up by turning a wheel at the top, attached by a stem to the gate itself. Okay, so keep that image in mind. This is what the Fairport facility looks like today. Here's the wheel, the stem goes down, right? And the sluice gate is at the bottom. There are four of these here. They're 24 inches wide. Only three of them are operable. I'm sorry, only one is operable. The other three are closed. They don't
Okay.
work.
Why are they closed? Due to issues or? Is that a decision?
I don't know.
Okay.
The emergency action plan for the spillway says that they're filled with concrete. I'm not sure that that's accurate. I know that the stems are missing in those three. You can actually, this is the canal walkway. You can actually walk down here and look inside here, and the stems are missing. So they're just not operable. Capacity of each of these is about 64 cubic feet per second. And just for comparison, a fire hose is 1 cubic foot per second. So there's a lot of water. And you can see how well protected this initial part of the spillway channel is. The channel runs for 700 feet to Thomas Creek. It's blocked by 4 undersized culverts. The channel is full of silt, vegetation, and debris, which causes flooding, mainly because these structures on either side of the sluice gates are spillways. They're passive. They operate without any intervention. So when the canal fills too full and there's a risk of overtopping and a breach along the embankment, the water will flow over these spillways first. It's a considerable amount of water, more than 500 cubic feet per second. It's a lot of water coming over those spillways. There has been flooding in the village of Fairport in 2014 that closed businesses, evacuated homes, affected the railroad. That flooding was worse than it was in 2004, probably because there was a 150-foot culvert added when Fairport DPW facilities were moved to this area. So you have a 700-foot channel blocked with 4 culverts, and one of them is 150 feet long. Going down to look at that, at the outlet of that culvert is actually underwater at Thomas Creek. Now we know back in 1834, when they were closer to the actual building of the canal, they included the channels as part of the operation of the canal. So they knew how important the channels were. So let's look at the other facilities. This one is in Bushnell's Basin. It looks like something out of a fairy tale right now. It's been closed, we think, since the 1950s. We have a document that says that that was closed off. None of those sluice gates are in use. There are 3 of them here, 36 inches square, with a capacity of 149 CFS each. This is the spillway and sluice gates at Cartersville. You can see one of the sluice gates here is open. Capacity here is similar to Bushnell's Basin, 149. So between the 3 of these, Fairport, Bushnell's Basin, and Cartersville, the total number of sluice gates available or originally designed were 10. The number in use is 2. They're only being opened a ½ inch according to the canal. So the design capacity is well over 1,000 cubic feet per second. They're only using 3.5. So what are they doing instead? They're opening bottom drains in the canal. This is the bottom drain at Cross Canal Brook. And remember, I showed you that map where the brook crosses the canal. It actually runs under the canal through culverts. And that's year-round. Now, when they drain the canal at the end of navigation season, there's still 2 to 3 feet of water left in the canal in places. So in order to provide dry conditions for activities like repair of Lock 32 in Pittsford, they need to dewater the rest of that. So they open the bottom drain in the middle of the canal. This is the iron plug. It's attached to a steel cable. That can't be removed while the canal is full. So there is no flood control. There are 2 other bottom drains that they're using. One at the east branch of Allen's Creek that's about the same size as this one. The one at Allen's Creek was in bad condition when they started using it recently. So they actually made the outlets smaller. That one has much less capacity. Between the 3 of these, we get about 43 CFS, which is less than full use of 1 sluice gate. And they've told us that they don't have enough capacity to keep dry conditions for repairs. All right, this is the senior hydrologist at the canal that told us this. So now let's look at the damage that's happening downstream. Again, this is that shape of Cross Canal Brook through the natural watershed. This is the village of Fairport. When the canal was built, it bisected the natural watersheds and presented a barrier to water flow. So now stormwater flows into the canal. When this plug is opened, effectively our watershed is doubled in size. And with that much flow, the stream can't handle it. You can see here, this is a chart from Dr. Richards that shows the water flow before and after the canal has been opened and closed, the canal plug. While it's draining, it's increased, much more than twice. A lot of this is snow melt during the winter.
Okay.
The initial release when they at first open that plug is about 25 CFS for the first, hour or so, 15 minutes to an hour. That's more than the stream sees during a normal storm season, much more. This is the actual outlet from the canal flow. You can see the water flowing through here. What this structure used to look like, it used to be about 12 feet tall, 12 feet wide, with these large wing walls at the sides. And at the bottom, there was a stilling basin. And what that does is slow down the flow of water before it exits into the stream. In 1976, they widened the canal path up here. When they did that, they lengthened the culvert coming out of the canal about 30 feet. They installed that short head wall that you see here, and they buried that whole structure that was originally here. There's no protection for the stream anymore. There's no stilling basin. So the full force of that water goes into the stream. And this map is from a federal source. The yellow hatch here is sand, just sand. And this is the area that we're talking about between Runnequoit Creek and the canal is here. So we're getting bluff erosion. What happens is this increased stream flow eats away at the bottom of the bluff, which causes a landslide and sediment into the stream that wears away, and then it starts again and we get more landslides. And this slide is just showing, here's the canal, here's Arundecoit Creek, and this is the 4-acre wetland. So it's right near where the canal is discharging. And this actually forms a wildlife corridor between the canal and Arundecoit Creek. So I'm not going to show you a lot of photographs of the destruction here, but these are pretty representative. This is showing a landslide from way up here. And you can see how high that is. This is showing undercutting of the stream bank. This hasn't fallen into the stream yet, so it's curled. This vegetation is still holding it to the bank. But it looks like about 4 feet of it has been eaten away. This is one of my neighbor's backyards along the stream. They're going to lose this tree. They can't let their grandchildren in this yard while the stream is flowing because it's so dangerous. This is another neighbor's property. You can see the bank is just disintegrated. So what we're asking for is for you to work with NYPA to prioritize the repair, modernization, and possible relocation of these waste weirs and sluice gates, and clear the drainage channels that protect the Great Embankment. And there's a possible relocation area that we've identified for the one in Fairport, because that one is right in the middle of the village. There's an industrial parcel that might be a possible location. We're also asking to strengthen the coordination requirements between the canal and local governments. Right now, there is none. So when, for example, the Fairport DPW relocated their facility along the channel, there was no requirement for them to consider the 500 or so CFS outlet flow when they put in those culverts that are restricting the flow now. Another example would be the project that was recently completed in the center of Fairport along Thomas Creek to replace a bridge over Thomas Creek at Route 250. That's another example where they didn't consider the flow. We also have a county project that will be coming up in the next few years to replace the culvert at Jefferson Avenue. I'm trying to get them to consider the flow out of the Cross Canal Brook discharge point. So anywhere along the drainage corridor from the canal needs to be considered by local projects. And I think with the county, I also warned them that they may not be able to do any construction for the 5 or 6 months that the canal is using Cross Canal Brook for discharge. We're also asking for downstream protection to restore the stilling basin at the outlet for Cross Canal Brook, and for mitigation and restoration along the stream once dewatering using the bottom drain is no longer needed. So why does this matter? If you remember, in 2024, the remnants of Hurricane Debbie just about missed us by 35 miles or so. There was a lot of flooding in southern Tier and in central New York. that affected the canal, they have more options in those areas to lower the water level in the canal before the storm comes through so that there is no flooding. They don't have those options in our area, and the Great Embankment is vulnerable. So they need to restore the functionality of these vital structures in the canal, reduce the safety risk to those of us who live below the embankment, preserve the wetland and the wildlife corridor, and improve the resilience to these extreme storm events. Do you have any questions I can answer?
Yes, 1 second. I'm finishing typing these last few things. Will you be able to send this to me?
I'm sorry, say again?
Will you be able to send this to me?
Yes. I already did, actually. It should have come with the meeting invitation.
Oh, okay. Our schedule probably has it. Perfect. Just a few quick questions. How many properties have experienced documented damage? Rough estimate.
It's about 30 along this section of the brook.
You outlined clearly the projected risk if no intervention occurs, but I'm curious about urgency timeline.
Well, I think the urgency is actually coming from NYPA and the canal themselves, because they are having a lot of trouble maintaining dry conditions for repairs.
Okay.
Other than that, the destruction is continuing. At some point, I've had trees come down over the embankment or the bluffs here. I don't know. There's another one that's about ready to go here, and I don't know when my septic system might be affected.
Have you heard anything about estimated cost range for the mitigation? Has that been a part of any conversations you've had?
No.
Okay. Canal Corporation and DEC, have they been formally engaged?
Canal has. We've had 2 Zoom meetings with them, and some follow up with their PR person. DEC, no, not really. DEC is kind of a maze. I don't really know who the right people are to talk to there. Do you have any suggestions?
That I can look into for you. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Now we've talked a lot about NYPA and other state agencies. Their response seems to be as urgent as yours, correct? Or they're acting as if it's not a problem.
They're telling us that it's vital for them to keep discharging into Cross Canal Brook. And they refuse to look at any other alternatives. For example, possibly directly siphoning into Arundecoy Creek. And they've told 2 of my neighbors that they have every right to discharge into the creek, and any property damage is not their concern.
Okay. Good. Okay. Have you looked into any state grant programs or other funding avenues you believe that this qualifies for? So I'll name a few and you can let me know. Water Infrastructure Improvement Act funds. Have you talked about those? Looked into those?
We did. I have emailed a few times with Emily Fell at DEC, and she's mentioned WQIP. As a layperson, I don't know that we would be qualified to apply for those kinds of grants. I think now that administration in the town of Perrington has changed, we may have better luck working with the town to try to get those kinds of grants going.
Right. That's great. That's great insight. DEC resilient grants, probably not.
I don't know.
Okay. Climate resiliency hazard mitigation funding.
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Those are fine answers. That's totally fine.
I could go back to Emily's email to us about grants and send that to you.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Okay, and you say that you're requesting legislative engagement. Are you looking for like a public hearing, a formal letter, a joint agency meeting? What specific kind of sort of engagement are you looking for outside of what you've already outlined?
Well, I think some questions need to be asked on what NYPA's plans are and what their priorities are. You know, we've tried to engage with them, and they're just not willing to make a move. And we really need things to be done here. All we need is another hurricane coming through to make this really obvious, but we don't want to risk an embankment breach. So it's a complex issue.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure what kinds of things you're able to do, but I think asking questions is, you know, making you aware of it and having you ask the questions is going to be more impactful than us having another meeting with them. Because
okay.
they
and so go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, so you would say that the single most important action right now that you're asking from Senator Brouk would be to engage with the New York State Power Authority to get answers to these questions. What are their priorities? What are their plans?
Yes, that's where to start.
Yeah. Okay. This is very helpful. I do have another meeting in 2 minutes, so I want to make sure I ask you if there's anything else that you want me to make sure I report back to the senator when I give her this overview.
No, this has been very good. I think we've covered it.
Wonderful. I will double check that our scheduler has this slideshow. If she does not, can I reach out to you directly to receive that? I'm pretty sure she will, though.
Yeah, I think she does have it.
Perfect. And I'm going to put my personal email in the chat, and you are welcome to reach out anytime. If you have any updates that happen, any information you want me to be aware of, you let me know. I will get the senator fully briefed on all of this, and we'll see what our avenues available to us are.
All right, Nikki, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Joanne. This was a very informative, very detailed presentation, and I really appreciate the effort you put into this and the thoroughness of everything that you've done in your research. This is a lovely presentation and a very important issue. So thank you very much for bringing it to our attention.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.